Hello! Hope everyone's okay this afternoon. Welcome to the SPanel beta release little Webex. You should all have a conversation window in your Skype meeting. If you'd all just put in there that you can hear me okay, once we've confirmed that everyone can hear me and everyone can see the screen, we will then start. Fantastic. Great, I hope everyone's excited. So, quick introductions. I think most of you already know who I am, but I'll be your SimRush trainer. My name's John Heyman. I work for FreeClicks. I'm SimRush and FreeClicks technical support and the SPanel lead developer. So you've all heard us reference to the SimRush portal. Well, it does have a name, and it's SPanel. We're going to get stuck straight in, so we can see your first look. Okay, so this is the URL. It's portal.simrush.com, and when you go to that, you'll then see your login. Logins will be provided after the Webex. You'll need to send us in a little email so that we can get you all set up and get you logged in. Okay. Reseller overview. Obviously all of you are resellers. So what are you going to see when you first log in? This is going to be your dashboard. I'm going to go through all the individual components in just a moment, but this is what you'll see when you log in. Okay. So there's a nice little widget on the left hand side. This gives you a quick hardware count. For those of you who don't know what IDU, ODU and CAP stand for, that is indoor unit, outdoor unit and client access point. And it just gives you a quick count as to how many you have assigned to you and your clients. The refresh page button at the bottom there is exactly what it says it is. It just refreshes the page. It's a nice quick little way to refresh the page and update the data. Sites and hardware. They're at the top of the screen, and the icons on the left-hand side of the numbers are indeed quick links. I'll go into more detail about the quick links later and what they associate to, but it gives you a total idea of how many sites you have and how many pieces of SimRush IDU hardware you have as well. Unassigned hardware count. Okay, this should always be 0. If it is more than 0, it means you have a piece of hardware which is floating around the SimRush portal with nothing to, not associated to anything. So it's not assigned to a client, it's not assigned to a site. It means you won't be able to do anything with it. So if that number is ever more than 0, give me a quick ring, because we'll have to find it and we'll have to make sure that we then assign it somewhere. Okay, so hence why the brick is red, because if it's larger than 0, you're going to have a problem. Okay, your users. This box is your reseller user accounts. This is not for your clients, it's not for your customers, it's not for anybody else to be logging in other than you and members of your company. So that could be a tech support person, it could be a colleague, whoever. But it will always contain yours. And yeah. To add in a new one, you can click on the plus button that's at the top left-hand side there. Okay, that'll present you with a nice little form where you can put in the name, the email address, and password. Password strength is required to have a uppercase, a lowercase, a number, and a special character, and it must be a minimum of 8. Once you've created the user account, that's it. That's all you can do with it. Control is passed back over to the person whose account you just created. So there's no resetting passwords for your colleagues or anything. They must do that themselves. Should they forget and they need to get back in again, you can either give us a ring or you can just delete their account and re-add them. To delete the account is relatively simple. In the actions column there, you have a nice little trash can. Click that, it'll ask you to confirm whether or not you want to delete it, and then it will give you the option to go ahead. If you go ahead, it's gone. If you want that added back in again, you're going to have to do it yourself. There's no way for us to recover it. Once it's gone, it's gone. So moving on from the dashboard, we're going to explain all of the menu. Okay, so as a reseller, you have a menu here with dashboard, client, site, hardware, settings, and the obvious sign out button. Dashboard we've just covered. Okay, it's going to display your dashboard, and it is the same for all of your reseller users. So if you add in your colleague or you add in a member of staff, they will see the same dashboard that you see. It's the same for all of your reseller users. Clients, you're going to be able to view all of your clients and add a new one. Hardware, view all of your SimRush devices and all of your SimRush client access points. Okay, and we'll cover the hardware page in a lot more detail a bit later on, as there's a lot of stuff going on in there. And as added bonus, you can see whether or not all of your hardware is online, offline, and do lots of searches as well. But say I'll cover that a bit later on. Your settings. They are your settings and your settings alone. So you can change your password and your name. And like I said, it's only for you. You can't do it for anybody else. It's for the person who's logged in. I should mention there is a timeout as well. So if you walk away from your PC and you happen to leave the SimRush portal logged in, it will time out after 30 minutes, to which the next action taken will force the user to re-log in. Just an added security measure there. Okay, so clients versus sites. I've already spoken a bit about clients and sites. It's worthwhile to mention that they are different, and what they can do is different. So I'll run through that now with you. So clients, it's a customer entity. Okay, so it's where if you have a new customer being onboarded, this is where their information is going to go. Okay. A client can have multiple sites, okay? Can have multiple logins. So this is where your customers are going to be logging in, and they're going to be logging into the client entity. It provides you and your customers with a centralized view of all of the sites that are associated to that client. It does not manage hardware. So you don't make any changes to SSIDs, passwords, LAN IPs. None of that is done from within the client entity. That is done inside sites. Okay, so a site is assigned to a single client. A client can have multiple sites, but a site cannot have multiple clients. It is a one-way. Hardware is then assigned to your site. A quick description of what a site could be. Say you have a customer who's a building firm. They have an office. So if you have a SimRush at their office, that would be a site. If they also had another SimRush at a warehouse, that would be a site. So you can start to see how it builds up inside the portal. The site is where you're going to be able to change all of that pieces, all of the settings associated to that SimRush. And we'll cover that in a bit more detail in a moment. So we're going to get stuck into the portal now, so you can actually see what the portal looks like in action. And we're going to do so by showing you how to add a new business client. It's quite simple. We go over to the clients menu, add client, start typing in the fields. So you've got a business name, address, county, country, and postcode. It's worthwhile noting here that business name is required, client type is required, and postcode is required. The rest is optional. So you can see here I'm just populating in a random new business. And once done, you'll see a nice little notification. Done. So there we go, we've just added in a brand new business client, and once it's done adding, it will direct you to your clients list where you'll view all of your clients. More on that in a moment. Okay, so what if it's not a business, it's residential? Relatively same process, go to add client, but you switch the client type down to residential. The business name field is now removed, and you must enter the first name and the last name. And then another required field is the postcode. So I'm just going to go through there and add that in. Excuse me while I make up a random postcode. Fantastic. So submit. Done. And it's redirected me back to that same place, which is a list of all of your clients. Okay, so we've added a business, we've added a residential client. Now say you've got a couple of hundred clients. It's going to be a bit of a pain to try and find them in that one list. So you need to be able to search for your clients. Now you can search by company name. Last name if residential. I'm pretty sure you all understand you don't search by first name. By the postcode. And then you also have the option to filter. Now this is its standard table. You can filter by ascending or descending on the type, so whether or not that is a business or a client. You can filter by company name, by last name, and the postcode. I'm going to show you a quick snippet of how we do that. You go through into your clients and list clients. And straight over to the search box. And start typing. The default is company name. If you want to change what you're searching for, there's a drop down box on the right hand side, which you can select last name or postcode, as I do in this instance, and start searching. The filtering is as simple as clicking the top name. The arrow on the right hand side will change whether or not it's ascending or descending. So it's relatively easy to find. It's worthwhile noting here as well, before I move on, that the next version of the SimRush portal, which is already in development, the search feature has been significantly improved. A bit more on that later, but yeah, it's been significantly more improved. It's a lot faster as well. Okay, so moving on. View a client. So, when you view a client, what are you going to see? A real nice quick overview of all of the sites assigned. So when you add in a site and you tell it to be associated to a particular client, when you go in to view that client, you are then going able to see that site. You're also going to be able to see whether or not that site is online or offline. It's going to be really simple. It's going to have a thumbs up or a thumbs down, as well as be green or red. I'm going to give you a quick little overview of what that looks like. So we're going to list clients. We need to find our client. Fantastic. Okay. So I'm just going to stop here. We've done a quick search to find test company as a client. Well, the company name is a link to view the client, and also at the other side, where the action button is, you have a little eye. Oh, sorry for that. Okay, I hope everybody can still see the screen. When you click on the eye icon and the company name, okay, it's going to take you in to see the client. Okay, and with that, you're going to get this real nice view. Okay, so I hope everybody can still see that after that little blip there. As we can see, we've got a free clicks dev site. No guesses as to what that is, and we have a test site of hello as well. This is where we have that thumbs up rating system, so you can go thumbs up or thumbs down. Pretty obvious, free clicks dev site is online. A quick little note as well is that if you want to go in to view the site, there is a quick link to do so underneath. Just there. So we've talked about sites quite a lot. Now I'm going to show you how to add one. Quite simple. We go over to sites, add site, type in a short little name or a description, and then select the client that you want to assign it to. Done. That's a site added. And it does exactly the same as what Clients does. Once you've added a site, it will take you to a list of all of your sites. It is really as simple as that for adding a site. So, viewing a site. There are several ways to get to the same place. You can do so via the client view. The quick link that's on your dashboard that I discussed earlier. The site list view, and as a bonus also from the hardware list view. I'll cover all of these in a moment. So, here we go. Over to clients, list clients. Okay, so you can then go in to that client. As you can see there, we've got Freeclicks dev site, hello, and that test site that I made just a moment ago. You can click on view site. That then goes in and views that particular site. Continuing on, you can go into sites, list site, and search for the particular site, find the one that you want. You can click on the site name or the pencil, and it will take you into that site. So there you go, there's a quick little snippet of what a site actually looks like. I'm going to go over this in a bit more detail on the editing SimRush hardware in a moment. Okay. The next one is the hardware view. So this is all the hardware, and what you get with this, you can also see it's highlighted green, so you can see it's online, and you can see there is a site name there, and with that you can click on that and it'll take you straight into the site. And on your dashboard you have the sites icon or quick link, which will take you to the exact same place there, so to the site view, and then you can just click on the one that you need. There you go. It's worthwhile noting that if you add a site and it doesn't have any hardware, or we have not put any hardware in it for you, it's going to look like this. It's going to look pretty barren and empty. It's not going to have an IDU count or an ODU count, and you're not going to be able to do anything with it. You're not going to be able to change any settings for when the hardware comes online, because it requires the IDU to be online. Right, moving on. So, view all hardware. You got a little glimpse of it there a moment ago, but we'll just go over it in a bit more detail now. So the hardware list is going to tell you whether or not the hard piece of hardware is online or offline. It's worth noting that a piece of hardware or a site will appear as online if any ODU is online or the IDU is online. So if you have a SimRush 1 where you have one ODU and one IDU, if the IDU is having issues and is offline, but the ODU is still connected and running, that site will appear as online. If the ODU is appearing as online, but the ODU is appearing as offline, you guessed it, the site will appear as online. So it's just worthwhile noting. From the hardware list view, you're going to be able to see what site it's assigned to. What client the site that the hardware is assigned to is assigned to. So if you've got a site which is assigned to a client, you're going to be able to see that traverse up the tree, so you know what client it's connected to. You're going to be able to see the IDU name and serial numbers, and the ODU names and serials. Because as we all know, if you have a SimRush Power, you can have more than one ODU, and you'll be able to see all of this inside that hardware list view. You'll also be able to have an action to reassign hardware to a different site. However, you should probably never need to do that. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little snippet of that now in a bit more detail, and I'll go over it in a bit more detail as well. So you've got the little quick link there with the button that will take you to the hardware list, or you can go to the hardware menu and click on list. I'm just going to pause this. So working from left to right, you'll see a status badge. You'll also see site, client, IDU name, IDU serial, ODU name, ODU serial. If the entire row is highlighted green and the badge is online, it's because it's online. If it's offline, it won't be highlighted, it will just be white, and the badge will just say offline. The site column is a link, so it will tell you what site it's assigned to, and if you want to get to that site, you can just click on it. Same with the client. It'll tell you what client it's assigned to, and if you want to go into that client to see how all of that client's sites are doing, again, you can just click on it and it'll go through from there. So it provides you with everything you need. And then obviously I'll show you the dashboard here. It goes back to the same place. Nice and simple. Okay, so now we're on to the really exciting part. I'm pretty sure most of you have been waiting for this, so you can have a bit of control over your SimRush and start doing things. Okay, so what is it you can actually change with the SimRush portal or SPanel? You can enable or disable the Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi SSID or name and password. If you want to have a separate Wi-Fi name for your 5 gigahertz network, you can. As default, the 5 gig is the same as the 2.4. So to your end customer, they don't see 2 networks, one for the 2 and one for the 5. They just see one, and the device decides which one to connect to. But if you feel the need to separate the 2, you can do. You have the option to block Wi-Fi devices. So say you see a piece of hardware on the network that you want to stop from connecting, you can do so. You can also add in a MAC address manually to a block list, so that will prevent that device from ever connecting to the Wi-Fi. It'll never be allowed on. You can also time block Wi-Fi devices. So if you only want to allow a device on the network at a certain time, or a certain time of the day, or on certain days, you can do so. You can set it to do a time block. And that just means whenever they're inside that period that you specify, they will not be able to get on the Wi-Fi at all. If you want to disconnect a Wi-Fi device temporarily, you can do so. Inside the site, you'll be able to see a list of all of the devices connected to the Wi-Fi. And if you want to kick a device, you can indeed kick that device off the Wi-Fi. You can change the router's gateway or LAN IP address. You can change the router DNS server. So if you don't want to use the default ones, which is EE DNS servers, and you want to use something like Google's 8.8.8.8, you can indeed set it to do so. You can enable or disable DHCP services. Some people just want a static LAN, or they want to use the SimRush as an extra gateway for their network, and you don't need the DHCP. You can do so, and in line with that, you can disable the Wi-Fi as well. Say you want to give your DHCP clients a different DNS server, you can do so, but you want to keep the router's DNS server the same, you can do so. You can tell DHCP to give out a different DNS server. You can change how many IP addresses the DHCP server will give out. The default is 20 to 250, so that leaves you a nice little 14 IP block for any statics that you want to add in. Or you can change it to use up the whole range. It's completely up to you. If you have devices already connected to your network and they've got an IP address from the DHCP server, but you want to make sure one of them always has the same IP address, at the click of a button, you can click and it will make it static. So that means the DHCP server will always give out the same IP address. And if you know a device is going to come online and you know the MAC address, you can add that in manually, and the DHCP server will grab that and give it to the device. So that's manually adding in DHCP static. Port forwarding. It's worthwhile noting that a public IP address is required for this to work, and it has to be a SimRush public IP address. If you've not purchased one, you will not be able to add in any port forwards. The tab is disabled. Okay, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you some of this live in action. So just before I start the little video, this is what you see when you go into a site. You get a nice little overview on the left hand side. Okay, that's just up here, shows you how many IDUs and ODUs you've got and how many access points. You get some little info, so you'll get the distributor, the reseller, also the reseller's contact details. So if you're the reseller and your customer decides to log in and see their site, they're going to see your details there. You'll get a nice little quick overview, or quick status. So you'll be able to see if the IDU is online or the ODU is online, or if you have a SimRush Power where you've got 2 ODUs, so you've got 2 120 gig ODUs, you can see if they've burned through the data on one and they've still got one online. So it gives you a real sort of granular input, so you can see which ones are online and offline. In the next version, I will just note of this panel, it goes as far as to tell you if the access point is online or offline, and that's for as many access points that you have on the network as well. It becomes real smart in the next version. You get a nice little quick Wi-Fi details overview, so you can see there what the current Wi-Fi name and password is. If you've told the 5 gig Wi-Fi to be a different name, that Wi-Fi details is updated and will show you the name and the password. But as we know, the password will be the same as 2.4. You'll also get a nice little LAN details view here as well. Now, if you've not purchased a public IP address, it will say in there not purchased. Also tells you what if the DHCP server is enabled or disabled. So that's the little dashboard for a site. Okay, so we're just going to start this off. Show you through. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to go into Wi-Fi and settings. I'm going to disable the Wi-Fi on our dev kit. Nice and simple. Click the button, wait for the alert, done. That's it. As quick as that, that's all of the Wi-Fi disabled. So now we want to re-enable the Wi-Fi, reverse process. Click on it again, Wi-Fi enabled. Now we want to change the SSID, so we're going to change it to SimRush demo change. Changed. Click the save button. Bam. So that now means that the 2.4 gig Wi-Fi name has changed on that device with the password of SimRush demo, and the 5 gig is using the same because the checkbox for same as 2.4 is checked. So now we're going to change that, and we're going to change the Wi-Fi password as well. And what I'm also going to do this time is I'm going to change the SSID for the 5 gig network. Sorry. There we go. Sorry, that was my fault. Okay. I'm sorry. I am pressing buttons and I shouldn't be. I should probably just stop. There we go. I hope we can all still see. Okay, so if you can still see that, that's going to come up, and I'm just going to go through that again. I'm going to leave the video running and talk as that's going. Okay, so that's changing the 5 gig to a different network. Let's just click the button. It's all done in real time, so there is no delay. When that alert comes up and says success, it's updated the Wi-Fi settings, it's live. There's no delay system or waiting. It's just changed as and when you click the save button. So there we go. That's all now back to how it was. Okay, so now we're going to view registered devices. We'll see on here at the moment, when I click the refresh button, there are no devices connect. So in this video, while I just reconnect connect my phone, you'll see here you've got interface, SSID, MAC address, uptime, and actions. So when that button just clicks, so we can see that my phone is connected. There we go. So we can see that my phone is reconnected there. You can see on the interface column, sorry, just here, you can see I'm connected to the 2.4 gigahertz network. I'm not connected to the 5. You can see which SSID I'm connected to. You can see my MAC address, and you can see how long I've been online for. You then have 2 action buttons. You have the ban icon, which is, you guessed it, that's to add my device to the block list. So that means you're going to kick me off the Wi-Fi permanently. The trash can is to disconnect me from the Wi-Fi. That will kick me off, but because my device is Android, it will reconnect again in a few moments anyway. So that's just a nice way to kick someone off and get them to reconnect and provide a nice clean connection. So there we see, block device and remove. Okay, so on to the next thing, LAN settings. So you want to change the LAN range or the LAN IP address of the SimRush. Now I'm just going to pause it there so I can explain this in a bit more detail. The root IP is your SimRush's IDU IP address. It's the gateway IP address. Now, if you change that, like I've just done there, from 192.168.10.1, and you decide to make it 101.1, it's going to force you to change the DHCP start address and end address. That is your IP pool. So that's what addresses are you going to be giving out on your DHCP server. Now, they can't be different from your LAN range, so it's going to force you to change it. It's also worthwhile noting that it's not required for you to change the DHCP DNS. That's this one up here. But if you do change the LAN range, and obviously you change the DHCP start and end addresses, if you don't change that one, the DHCP DNS to the new gateway IP, your clients are going to be able to connect, but they're not going to get any DNS, so they're not going to be able to browse the internet. So if you have troubles after a LAN change, just check the DHCP DNS. We may well make that required upon a DNS change later on. But there we go. So we can see here, I'm just about to change that over to when I want it to go. It should go nice and green once it's detected it's there. Or maybe just gets rid of the error, but there you go. So then click on save, and it's going to produce a nice little alert. Done. So that's it. I've just changed the LAN range on there, and just to change it back to default, which is 192.168.10.1, and change the IP pools back as well. You can then save that out. You also have the option to disable DHCP entirely, which is with the checkbox at the top of LAN settings. So just there. By doing so, disables all the fields, saving, and that's it. Completely disabled. To re-enable is just the opposite. Check the checkbox and save. There we go. Success. So that now means that's all re-enabled. Okay, so port forwarding. This is a bit most people are interested. So I was going over the table. You've got name, inbound port, protocol, to IP, to port, and description. So the name is just a quick little description of the port forward. So if you're forwarding, say, port 80 for a web server, you can just type in there like web server. Inbound port, that's the port that you want to forward. So if you have a web server which uses port 80 and say 443 as well, you put that port number in there. You're then going to select which protocol you want. Okay, which will be TCP or UDP. The to IP is your LAN IP address. So that's the internal IP address where you are forwarding this port to. So we can see here, I'm already going ahead and doing it. So I'm just going to pause that once the TCP is selected. Or just completely ruin what I was doing. There we go, so I'll just play from there again. Okay. Don't need to worry if the line goes red, like it has done there. Okay. The reason why that line has gone red is because name, inbound port, protocol, to IP, and to port are required. If you have any one of them fields missing, it's not going to allow you to submit and create the port forward. So yeah, not to worry if it's red. So I'm just going to go through there. So I'm going to forward port 8080. It's going to be on TCP, and it's going to be to 192.168.10.2. So that's your internal LAN address IP, and then the port which I'm going to forward to internally. So say 88. Now, just before this goes through, okay, so you'll see here that's now been submitted, and the row has gone yellow. That means it's in processing. Okay, so then what you'll see, once it's been accepted, it goes green. Okay, you're not going to get the alert like you would do the rest of the time, because if you're adding in loads of port forwards and you want to go through quite quickly, you're not going to want that alert popping up all the time. So once it's gone green in the row, that means the port forward has been successfully added to your SimRush. And you're going to add it in the description, and you'll see it just fades out, and that's it. It's all been added. So now you want to update the description. Fantastic. This was a test. Orange, green. There we go. Okay. There's a little menu icon on the left-hand side here. This is the selector. Okay. Once you've got loads of port forwards in there, and say you want to remove one, well, you've got to be able to select the row. So you click on them 3 little lines. Okay, it'll turn the row blue. So you'll see that now. There you go. So it's made the row blue. You might have also noticed that the bin icon is now highlighted. Now, just before I continue with this, there is another little button here, which is the green one, which is a little download icon on. Before you delete any port forwards, just so that you have a record of what port forwards you had, if you click on the download button, or the green button on the bottom here, that's going to download all of your current port forwards as a CSV file. Because once you've deleted a port forward, there's no going back. If you delete one by accident and you can't remember what it was, or something like that, we're not going to be able to get it back for you. It's gone. You do get the option to confirm, as I'll show you now, that you want to delete a port forward. Okay, so that's your last chance before it deletes. Okay, but if you've got a copy of all of your port forwards, then you're going to know exactly what you had beforehand. But once you then click that OK button, it's gone. That's it, and you will get a nice notification to say that port forward has been deleted and your table is now nice and empty. Okay, so just a quick recap on that. Name, inbound port, protocol, to IP and to port are required for a port forward to be created. The row will go red until all of these requirements are met. Once the requirements are met, it will go yellow while it submits it to the SimRush device to be added. Once it has successfully been added to the SimRush, the row will go green and fade out to white. To delete a port forward, you click on the selector icon, the 3 little lines, and you click on the red trash can and confirm deletion of port forward. Okay, it is worth noting again that before you delete anything, download a copy of the CSVs, just so that you know what you had. There's no way to re-import the CSV file. It's just for your records, just so that you know what you had before you started deleting things. Okay, so that's the site. What I'll do is I'll just play that whole little video again, so you can see the whole thing in action. We'll just go over again, because obviously this is the most important bit, where you're probably going to end up spending most of your time when you are supporting your customers, or when you're doing bespoke work and you want to make sure it's set up exactly right for your customer. So we'll just recap that you can enable and disable the Wi-Fi. You can change the Wi-Fi's SSID, the Wi-Fi name, and the password. You can separate the 5 gig from the 2.4. So if you want to make sure you have like a SimRush fast and a SimRush normal, or just a SimRush and a SimRush fast, you can do so. The password is the same on both Wi-Fi networks. Okay. We'll just go over the DHCP settings as well. So once he's done messing around over there, so skip that forward. There we go. So now we're going to go to registered devices. So yeah, you can see which devices are connected to your Wi-Fi. You can see what network they're connected to, whether it be a 2.4 or a 5. You can see their MAC address, how long they've been online for, ban them and or kick them off. So you'll see there we go. So that was my device. So we'll just move forward again on that. Okay, so yeah, then you've got your gateway settings, your router IP, your router DNS, you can disable DHCP, enable DHCP, change all the LAN ranges. I know that some businesses require the LAN range to be changed, so you can do all of that. And then there's the port forwarding, which we just covered in great detail. So, moving on. So your customers can log in and manage their own hardware. It's completely up to you whether or not you want to allow them to do so. They can't get in without a user account, and you or SimRush or me has to create the account for them. Okay. It's relatively quick, it's relatively easy. It's exactly the same process for when you add a reseller user. I'll just go through and show you now. So this is the SimRush client. You'll see here with this nice little video, you've got some tabs at the top there. Users. Okay, so you'll see in here, there's already one in here, john.heyman@freeclicks.com. And you'll see my name, and you'll see actions in there as well, and also the bin to remove the user. So you want to add in a new user, click on the plus icon, type in a name, type in an email address. The email address is what they use to log in. Okay, and then provide them with a password. Again, it's got to have an upper, a lower, special character, and a number. There we go. And then it's save changes, and that user is created. Okay, so you see there you've got two users in there now. Now what you can do, you've got a nice little a round icon there. That's for reset. So you should be able to reset the customer's password. So say the customer can't log into to SPanel because they want to see who's connected, or they want to change some settings of their own, or they change the Wi-Fi password, but they've forgotten their own login password. So unlike with the reseller users, you can actually reset their password for them, and that's just using that nice little reset icon there, and that will load up a nice little menu and you can reset it for them. They can change it themselves because what they see we will cover now. So when they go to log in, so you go through, they type in their email address, their password, log in, and that's what they're going to see. Okay, so I'm just going to stop there before we go too much further. See, the menu is completely different. When a client logs in, you've created a client user account under a client entity. They're only going to be able to see sites and hardware that is assigned to them. They're not going to be able to see anybody else's, only theirs. And when they log in, what is on screen now, this is what they're going to be able to see. So they're going to get that nice quick overview of all of their sites, whether they're online, offline, and they're also going to be able to see their reseller contact details. Now, if you're the reseller, that is going to be your information that they're going to see. So your support telephone number, and that's all in this quick box here. So that's on their sort of home page. Okay. You can also see that they can only see sites and they can see hardware in their menu. So sites, it's just that sites list as before, but it only shows their sites, and the hardware is the same. It's only going to show their hardware. Functions are all the same as a reseller, but it's only related to them. So you see, I'm about to go and show you. So there you go. So they can see their site, which is the FreeClicks Dev site. They can see their hardware, which is online, and everything they need. And then they can see their settings as well. Their settings that they can change is the same as what you can do with your own, and that's change password, change the name. Okay. Obviously, they can then see their site. This looks all very familiar. It's exactly the same as what you can see, and they have access to all of it. So they can change their Wi-Fi name, Wi-Fi password. If they want to change the LAN IP addresses, they can. If they want to do port forwarding of their own, they can do so. So like I said, it's completely up to you whether or not you want to give them access. As the reseller, it's up to you whether or not you want to give access to your client to the portal at the moment. It's worthwhile noting that in the future we will be creating a permissions profile, so you'll be able to control what they can and what they can't do within their site, and what settings they can and can't change. But we're not quite there yet. Okay. Just going to go over future development. So, I mean, if you've got any questions, start popping them in the text box or in the chat. We're just going to go over quickly what we're planning for the future. So, SimRush version detection. You're going to be able to see what version of SimRush you're running, whether or not there's any firmware updates or config updates. We're going to be able to show you that in the portal, and you're going to be able to update. You're going to be able to see some interface statistics and graphs. Some of the graphing hoping to be real time as well, so you'll be able to see network traffic traveling across the SimRush devices. Wi-Fi management. This is where the access points come into it. So if you have a SimRush and you've bought a couple of SimRush access points, you're going to be able to manage all of the SimRush access points connected to your SimRush controller from the portal. And that includes choosing which frequency for the 2.4 and the 5 you want to broadcast on. So we know we've got 1, 6 and 11 for the 2.4, and you know that you've got several access points around the building. You can choose which frequency you want them to be on, so you can really plan out your network and make the Wi-Fi really, really good for your customer. You're also going to be able to set up guest access, so whether or not that's another SSID or whether or not it's a captive portal, that's coming as well. Access control lists. We've already got half of this implemented with the block lists and time blocking, but we're going to go into a little bit more detail what you can do, so like blocking people out of DHCP or a bit further, and controlling what devices can and can't do on a network. Failover and load balance waiting. This is something we get asked quite a lot. Is to change the way the SimRush load balances or can fail over. So with this, you're going to be able to change the primary connection. So if you bought the SimRush and you've bought it with a customer that say has a good fibre to the cabinet, but they want the SimRush as a failover. So if the fibre to the cabinet dies, you can set it so that your auxiliary or your fibre to the cabinet connection is the primary connection, and when that goes offline, it fails over to use the SimRush. Also goes the other way, so if you have an old ADSL line that you want to use, you can connect it to your SimRush, and you can set the SimRush to be the primary connection, so all traffic will go out of the SimRush, and then when the SimRush runs out of data or there's an issue, it can fail over to your ADSL. Or third option, if you have a reasonably good local connection and you want to use the SimRush and balance between the SimRush and your on-site connection, your ADSL or fibre to the cabinet, you can tell it to do so. So it will load balance between the two. Firmware updating. There's 3 different types of updates for a SimRush. I won't go into detail, but you'll be able to see whether or not a firmware update is available. Backup and restore. When you change things in SPanel at the moment, all of your settings changes are stored at the SimRush data center, as well as on the SimRush device itself if it relates to it. So the idea behind this is that any change is saved, and should there be an issue with your SimRush IDU and you need to have it replaced, or you're changing the way it's configured, or you're upgrading, you're going to be able to restore all of your existing settings to whichever replacement piece of kit that you've got. This is probably going to come in most handy when you're upgrading. So a customer starts off with a SimRush 1 and they decide that actually they need a little bit more data, so you've got to upgrade them to a SimRush Power. You can then basically just restore the exact same config that you had on your SimRush 1 to your new SimRush Power or IDU. Extended user management. With this, you're going to be able to get a much more granular control over what your reseller users can do. So this is your staff members and your colleagues. You're going to be able to control what they can and can't do. So whether or not they can edit something, or whether or not they can change something or view something. It's also going to apply to your clients as well. So you're going to be able to say, right, I'm going to give you a login to SPanel so you can see your SimRush, but it's going to be restricted. So it's a view only. Or you can say, right, I want this person to be able to change the Wi-Fi name and password only, but I don't want them to tinker with any of the LAN or port forwardings because I've spent some time making sure I get that right. So you can hopefully restrict people back to that. So just a little bit more extended control to both you as the reseller and your clients as well. So you can you just control what they're doing. Email system and alerting. We're going to build a whole email system, an alerting system as well, so that when you create a reseller user, that new user gets notified of their account and is asked to activate it. Same for the clients. You add in a client, they're going to get an email from SPanel, and then they're going to be able to activate their account, log in, change their password. It's also going to be able to alert you if a site is offline. So if a site goes offline within whatever time period we decide, it's going to email you and let you know this site is offline. There's going to be a bunch of other things as well it's going to be able to email you about. And you're going to be able to control when and what for it's going to email you about. So if you don't want to receive offline notifications, you can indeed just say no. I don't want to know about this. I'm pretty sure you would, but yeah, if you don't want them, you can turn it off. Okay, white labeling. This is going to be a good one for you as resellers. When your customers log in, you may not necessarily want them to see the SimRush. You might want to say this is all my system, to which we're going to give you that facility, so you can change the logo when they log in, and they're going to see your logo. The logo is also going to be applied to any email alerts as well. So yeah, it's going to be completely white labeled, so that you can see that customers can see that it's all your equipment and that you're in control. It's worthwhile noting that we've also got planned SMS or text notifications as well, so that you can get text notifications when someone's offline. But that's planned for down the future. So there's a lot coming up. So the next version, which is 1.0.37, is already in development. We're already working for it and pushing forward. So a lot's going to be changing with SPanel and the way it works over the coming year or couple of years, and we're going to be adding lots and lots of new features. Okay, I'm pretty sure you've all had enough of me rattling on. I'm just going to say that your SimRush is going to require the latest version. So if you're not confident in using it, or you just want to make sure that your SimRush is going to work 100%, give us a ring. I'm more than happy to have a look over the SimRush and just make sure it's all up to date, make sure it's running the latest config, and then it's going to be able to work with the portal. Right. I'm going to open it up to questions. If you have any, get typing away in the chat box down below, and I'll pick a few out and answer them. Is there any usage data available now at all to see where all data is going? Not currently. As I said, in the future you're going to be able to see statistics of traffic, so you're going to be able to see interfaces. You're going to be able to see all the ODU connections, the LAN connections. You're going to be able to see in real time what data is traveling across that particular interface. At the moment, though, it's MyEE or the add-on page to see how much data you've got remaining. But yeah, we're going to show you some of that. At the moment you can also use the monitoring package. The monitoring package is tied into our data center monitoring, which gives you much granular detail currently. So that's going to give you history statistics as well. That collects data for years. So When will the update be available to create multiple SSIDs? That's a good question. Multiple SSIDs will be coming in version 1.0.38, so 2 more versions down the line. It's going to be coming soon before we go into a full production, but it's coming there. Will we be able to dual WAN as well as load balance and fail over with different LANs over different WANs? That's a really complicated setup. You'll be able to load balance with dual WANs, but from what I can understand, that as well as a load balance and fail over with different LANs over different WANs. Right, so I'll tell you, multiple LANs and multiple VLANs are going to be coming in the future. It's not there yet. That's probably going to be in the second production version because it's an awful lot of work to get working. So if you're gonna want multiple VLANs with multiple DHCP servers running and multiple gateways. Yes, that's on the way. That's on the way to go. And to specify which gateway you want a particular LAN or VLAN to go out of. It's not actually been considered at the moment, but we will. I'll add it into the development roadmap for you. Was this song so much? Is our servers throttling down? SimRush goes. The data center connection is limited, but the connection is not. So when you're doing speed tests on a particular device like a SimRush or SimRush Go, you will always be able to get the full available amount. So 5056. If you'd like to give us a ring in, and we'll talk about the SimRush Go and perhaps why you weren't getting the speeds you're expecting. When can you use this from? If you catch me before I go home which is 5:30 today, I'll create you a login. If not, it'll be tomorrow. Cool. How do you catch me? Give me a ring. Free clicks number 01603 703 340. Give us a ring. Pete will be able to assist you as well if I'm already on the line. Or you can ping me an email. My email address is jon.hayman@freeclicks.com. Obviously, I'll try and get as many of you added as I can. And there's another one there. So partners@simrush.com. You're very welcome. Okay, so I think everyone's had enough of my voice. I hope everyone's looking forward to using it. I've had fun developing it, and we've got a lot more to go. We're going to be pumping out new features quite regularly. We have a full-blown roadmap of what we're going to be doing. So there's just a ton of work which we're going to be chucking into this, and it's all to give you as the reseller more control over your SimRushes and what you can do, and it just increases the value of the SimRush to you. It also means that you can carry out more of your own technical support, and overall it's just going to give you so much more control and flexibility of what you can do with your SimRush. Other than that, thank you very much for attending. Thank you for listening to me battle on. Hope you have a good day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.